Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Insider reveals latest update on Dak Prescott contract talks. The Dallas Cowboys' three biggest stars, pass rusher Micah Parsons, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb and quarterback Dak Prescott, are all due for contract extensions, and the team has therefore not made any real additions or improvements this offseason. There is a growing feeling that perhaps Prescott will not get an extension anytime soon and that he will simply play out the final year of his contract, then become a free agent next offseason. According to Ian Rappaport, Prescott says he has been having conversations with the Cowboys organization about a new deal, and Rappaport pointed out the leverage the QB has right now in such discussions. Prescott had a sensational 2023 regular season in which he threw for 4,516 yards and an NFL-high 36 touchdowns, which made him an MVP candidate. He led Dallas to a 12-5 record, but as always, he faltered in the playoffs, and as a result, Dallas got destroyed by the Green Bay Packers in the wild-card round. Some feel that perhaps the Cowboys would be better off moving on from Prescott because of his repeated failures in the playoffs, not to mention all the money they would save. Rappaport mentioned that if the Cowboys extend Prescott, his extension could be worth in the neighborhood of $60 million a year. The quarterback market across the league has exploded over the last couple of years, with Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who isn't even close to the player Prescott is, recently earning a 5-year, $275 million deal. The wide receiver market has also exploded, and therefore it will be very difficult for Dallas to pay Prescott, Lamb and Parsons the money they deserve. Why NFL players should not be ridiculed for podcasting during the season. Dallas Cowboys fans should close their eyes. The Cowboys are facing more drama this offseason. Star edge rusher Micah Parsons has been on the receiving end of criticism throughout his career, mainly due to his podcast, The Edge. This time, criticisms are coming from across the locker room as teammate Malik Hooker has called out a fellow Cowboy, ironically enough, on a podcast. On former NFL wideout Keyshawn Johnson's podcast All Facts No Breaks, Hooker offered this when asked about his thoughts on his teammate's podcast. I don't have a problem with it. My advice for Micah would be, just make sure we're all right, and being where your feet are. Because if we're at work, and the run game's terrible, but you're doing a podcast every week and you know the run game is terrible, then what are you really caring about? Are you caring about the crowd that's watching your podcast? Or are you caring about the success of our team and the Super Bowl that we're trying to reach? Parsons responded to Hooker's comments on Twitter, but the post was later deleted. Just wish you said this to me, but instead on some podcast. And you got my number, family. At Malik Hooker 24 and you my locker mate. So you coulda said this any day. And you do realize I shoot the podcast on our off day. Why ain't we talking about everyone preparations and focus? With all the criticisms around athletes hosting podcasts, here is why players should not be ridiculed for hosting their own podcasts. Parsons isn't the only star athlete that has faced criticism for hosting a podcast during the season, as Golden State Warriors star Draymond Green faced similar criticism for hosting his podcast, The Draymond Green Show. The show faced some controversy around the time of Green's suspension after a flurry of unnecessary fouls, resulting in ejections and his aforementioned indefinite suspension from the NBA last season. Other professional athletes such as Paul George, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and even LeBron James have hosted podcasts during their respective sports seasons without facing the same criticisms, if any. Cowboys predicted to land quarterback with blistering speed. The Dallas Cowboys could be in the market for a new quarterback, depending on how Dak Prescott's negotiations play out. Weeks before training camp begins, Prescott has not signed a contract extension. Unless things change in the coming months, Prescott would be a free agent in 2025. Pro Football Network's Kef Ciardello put together an early 2025 NFL mock draft and has the Cowboys selecting Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback Jalen Milroe with the number 23 pick in the first round. The draft order is based on the latest Super Bowl odds. Displeased after another pedestrian campaign with Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboys make it back-to-back QB selections in this 2025 NFL mock draft with a Texas native behind center, Alabama QB Jalen Milroe, the analyst detailed in a July 6, 2024, story titled, Kef Ciardello's 2025 NFL Mock Draft, Carson Beck, Connor Weigman, Shedeur Sanders go in the top 10, but Travis Hunter taken number 1. Milroe is a consummate leader with blistering speed, elite arm strength, and quintessential NFL QB size, 6'2", 220 pounds. He shoots into the first round after ascending under the tutelage of new coach Kalen DeBoer, who helped guide Michael Penix Jr. to a similar trajectory at Washington. Prescott went viral after a photo surfaced of the quarterback wearing a walking boot while on vacation. The Cowboys quarterback has attempted to calm fans' nerves by noting it was a precautionary measure. As for Prescott's future, the quarterback admitted there's been conversations back and forth between his representatives and the Cowboys front office. Prescott emphasized that his focus is on the upcoming season, not his next contract. Yeah, there's been conversations back and forth, but for the most part, for me, as y'all know, I'm going to let my agent do that, especially as we get right here into training camp, Prescott told reporters on July 9. Day 1 of training camp, my mind flips to obviously helping my team and just doing everything I can within the organization and on the football field to make sure that I am my best and everyone around me is their best. And the money and all that will take care of itself, as it always has. If things with Prescott and Dallas remain unresolved, the challenge is the top quarterbacks in the 2025 class will likely be selected before the Cowboys are on the clock, unless the team's season goes incredibly wrong. It would still be a surprise if Prescott does not eventually ink a new deal with Dallas. Milroe threw for 2,834 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, while completing 65.8% of his passes with the Crimson Tide last season. The quarterback is also a threat, with his legs adding 531 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns in 2023. Milroe is far from a lock to be selected in the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. The Athletic's Dane Brugler does not have Milroe going in the first round in his early mock draft. Only 3 quarterbacks crack Brugler's first round: Carson Beck, Georgia; Quinn Ewers, Texas; and Shedeur Sanders, Colorado. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Jalen Milroe? Leave your opinion in the comments.